We're live. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here on this Friday, late or early morning, wherever you're at in the world. I'm Deborah from Althea. We do machine-to-machine payments, revolutionizing the telecom and utility infrastructure industries. And I'm here today with Michael from Roam Network and Alexander from Sentinel dVPN. So everyone here today is working on revolutionizing some part of telecom utilities, how we interact with the internet. I don't think anyone has the impression that the internet is perfect right now, or that we have, that we have a lot of the rights that we maybe used to have and enjoy. So I think everyone here is part of what I am now calling the ethos system. So beyond an ecosystem, there's an alignment around the ethos of how blockchain and decentralization can transform and disrupt these very kind of legacy, brittle systems. So if you have questions for anyone here, please just jump into the YouTube or the Twitter. Feel free to ask. We're going to keep this very conversational and just kind of chat about where everything is at and what the future holds. So Michael and Alexander, would you introduce yourselves, please?
Yeah, so I'll let Michael start, and then we can do it like in the circle of turns, I guess.
Yes, let's start with the circular economy ideas. Yes, so my name is Michael Angelov, co-founder of Roam Network, and our mission is to change the way people experience and connect to the mobile internet. And our vision would be that in a couple of years, imagine a situation in which our system takes care that your connection to the internet is always at the right quality, means speed, coverage, and price. And regardless of if infrastructure is most suitable for your connection, whether this is a so-called mobile network, so 4G, 5G, that will be 6G in a couple of years, or satellite or Wi-Fi, whether this is the likes of AT&T or Verizon or Vodafone or Orange or Indosat, or this is a helium network, we're going to make sure that you're connected to the right infrastructure. And in order for that to happen, and for you to have this connection, of course, the first step is to know what is the reality of the mobile networks. And that's why the current roadmap is collecting this kind of information. So collecting the actual mobile network measurements via the roadmap community. So those 87 plus thousand people that have been using our app for the last 1 year. And with that, we have more than 2.4 billion measurements from 187 countries ongoing all the time, and those measurements will help us understand what will be the best service to create. But also, when this data has value, because it's your data and your value, we're going to reward you back for your contribution. So for everybody listening, thank you again for the contribution, and let's continue building what could be the best experience for you and your mobile connection.
Yeah, thank you. And as for us, we at Sentinel, we are building a decentralized VPN service based on blockchain. So the idea is to take the experience of centralized VPN applications that is now like broadly used for circumventing censorship online and protecting your privacy while browsing the web. Old school, like traditional VPN services have encountered several difficulties which seems to be unsolvable unless there is a decentralization applied. I'm talking about restrictions in certain regions, for example, such as like countries as China, Russia, Iran, and many others, where the possibilities of accessing internet freely are very limited. So we're taking all the benefits that blockchain has, since like we all know that no one can stop, for example, Bitcoin from spreading around, and we tried to apply the same paradigm to VPN service itself, so we could decentralize it and make it basically unstoppable, non-blockable, as there is no single entity that some like government or actor can go after to prevent it from operating. That way, we have established a broad network of decentralized VPN nodes worldwide. We're now counting over to be precise, over 5,000 nodes worldwide, serving almost 800,000 users totally that we have on Sentinel network. We developing an SDK for VPN vendors to integrate Sentinel technology into their existing VPN applications so they can benefit from decentralization as well. And so far, so good. We've been existing out there for already several years. Sentinel launched their first application in late 2017, I believe. So it was quite a journey since then, and we went through a lot. Just recently, our major application based on Sentinel called dVPN by Norse was featured in the top 3 apps at the App Store for Apple TV, which attracted a lot of users and a lot of downloads. And we're not stopping there. We're also collaborating with different other developers to help them build their own decentralized VPN and contribute to the network.
Cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Alexander.
You are OG as well. Like Althea started in late 2017 as well. I'm curious about the journey. I mean, Althea took a few, turns along the way. Started out with payment channels in Ethereum, Gnosis, and now we're on L1. Did you have a similar journey, like working through some of the iterations? I'm just curious. Now we're in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just like you guys, we started off from Ethereum network, probably like everybody else, basically out there. Yeah, it was some sort of a very solid foundation for a very beginning, but then we realized that there is a certain limitations that Ethereum has, and there is other options that we can explore for bringing, first of all, cheaper transaction costs and faster user experience for the users of the chain itself. So we switched on to Cosmos, and we are now Cosmos-based network. We've been for a long time already, I believe, maybe since 2020-ish, something like that. So for 5 years already, I believe. We've been through several upgrades. We integrated IBC, that inter-blockchain communication that that is there on Cosmos, and we benefiting from it as well. Now we see that finally we're getting this integration not only across Cosmos-based chains, but also with the Ethereum with IBC Eureka, and we're integrating that as well, which makes it possible to pay with the for VPN services, not only with the tokens located on the inner circle of the Cosmos community, but also using some ERC20 tokens, right? So yeah, it's been I would say a most important decision for us to switch from Ethereum to Cosmos in terms of scalability, because pretty much no one would pay a fee on Ethereum that costs as much as a VPN service monthly fee for centralized VPNs, right?
Yeah, Michael, we are also Cosmos EVM hybrid, and very similar, like Story or Berachain, and have our own L1, especially in we do the Althea is the actually transactions between routers or nodes in a network, so needed that sort of flexibility that the Cosmos SDK stack has, and then of course we brought in EVM to make it easier for users. So kind of similar, I think, pathway. But yeah, Michael, I'm curious about your thoughts on the actual blockchain infrastructure too, and where you've landed, what's worked best for Rome.
Yeah, so this is still a good journey ahead of us before the infrastructure delivers everything that a fully decentralized large-scale consumer service needs to offer, meaning that I've been looking for, at least for the last 2 years at this, and it's still, the journey is open. For example, how to build or how to use a decentralized MySQL-like table or database with functionality to do indexing and searching for small files for IoT sensor data, or let's say for sensor data, which is our use case. Of course, such things do exist, but typically for larger files, so typically geared towards videos or music, but for large amount of small data and to be able to run an efficient analytics service on top, this is still an ongoing question, especially in our area, which is the decentralized physical infrastructure, DePIN, which in my definition is cloud IoT plus blockchain. We're still searching for the right infrastructure supply services, let's say primitives. Meanwhile, we have started collaborating, and we've been lucky enough to join the Lighthouse projects of Peak. So it's a dedicated layer one chain that is providing the primitives that we need to get it off the ground. And we've been actually with the Peak journey since the launch last year. But of course, the infrastructure is still ongoing and developing. So I think this is very exciting to see how the brightest minds of the world can actually come together in solving these topics, especially now when the AI game is just starting and there's so much happening there. I think this is the next frontier to making sure that everything on chain could be analyzable, if this is a word, or could be AIable, which is even less of a word, so that you can actually use the right models with the right tools to make it actually better. So I've seen a lot of AI so-called projects, but I haven't seen too many actual usable services. Let's put it this way. So that would be an interesting discussion to look forward for that. And of course, the blockchain itself is developing with the zero knowledge rollups and everything around that. So quite exciting to see, but definitely AI is the game to follow now. So I've been
indeed.
almost giving up for that.
Yeah, that's true. AI is now trending, and it seems like everybody is trying to catch on that. So we at Sentinel, we actually used the network that we have built, and we thought that maybe with this AI narratives that are currently appearing and trending, we could build something useful for people who are developing their own AIs. Because the question is now that in order to build yourself some sort of AI, you need to either be very rich and possess a lot of high expensive technologies, a lot of equipment and so on, or just use something that already exists, especially when it comes, for example, for data collection, data scraping, for training your own models. It is a very complicated task to do. Solely from your own computer, you cannot scrape enough data yourself, because you will be eventually bent very quickly. Either you will end up having not enough space for training your own model and so on. So we came up with the idea of using decentralized VPN nodes that we have on the chain as a network that can help people who are building AI to collect data in the decentralized manner. So that's being said, we launched a new product, which is currently in the beta. We called it Sentinel Scout, which is basically a toolkit for AI data scraping on the decentralized chain that we already have.
When did Alex? When did you launch that? Sentinel?
So we launched the Sentinel Scout for internal testing just last year.
Okay.
It is still in active development. We adding new features, and we taking into consideration all the feedback that we receive from the community to make it an actual product that we can ship. And following that development, we will also introduce an SDK for other builders out there who will be able to integrate Sentinel Scout into their product, so they can use it for example, again, model training of their own AI.
Is that sort of similar to, Michael, to kind of how Realm, makes their data available to other operators? I mean, in your case, you're, instead of maybe AI, I suppose it could be AI, you're looking at telecom operators and so forth. How do you make that data available to for users in enterprise?
I think that's the next step. So how to make more data available for AI models to use the data or even to train itself with the data. So I mean, I just recently, right, all the standards that were just announced or protocols, so MCP and what was it now, AEP? I mean, the one that Google just announced. So for the models to talk to each other. So I mean, that would be interesting if it can develop and to be brought something on chain. What we have done meanwhile is that we started to partner with the guys of Neuron World. So we are now going to have a participation in a hackathon that they are hosting together with Hedera. So and the idea is to enable one of our data sets, so namely the data around the US, from US around the forest fires in California last year, and then to expose the data, so basically the measurements of the mobile networks and how it changed or how it shifted around certain places during the forest fires, and allow hackers to to look at it and to be able to correlate it with other type of data, and then to make it all available with different tools and see what they can come up with. So, I mean, we are pretty much sure that this data augmentation in a very sustainable way. So, whether this is with the right protocols or the right tools, will probably the future of why projects like ours need to collect data and why the user should be aware of their data. Because ultimately, the story goes that your phone will be the hub of all sensor data, and there has to be a way that you as a user would like to say, yes, I would like this data to be usable for that purpose, but not for something else. I would like my data to be usable for checking forest fires, but not for allowing the government agencies to know where everybody has been and what they're doing, for example, right? And I think blockchain gives the best opportunity for this to be marked down and traced and followed, so that nobody has to trust the app developers, because we have seen it from the Android world that nobody should be trusted there, but people can actually be able to verify the sources and destinations with ultimately data landed based on a transparent blockchain. So, and in the age of AI, this is even more important because you really want to know what happens with everything that you contributed.
Yeah, I oftentimes say like ownership is kind of comprised of two components, right? Choice and leverage, being able to leverage, monetize what you have, and then having choice about what happens to that. But when I think one of the challenges about ownership and empowering ownership and agency is that, oftentimes it doesn't come with a premium in price, right? Users are not willing to pay a premium for this ownership. Or the UX can be a little bit more challenging, right? And they aren't willing to go through that process to have it, smoothed over. So I'm wondering if you maybe both of you all might share a little bit about how you're thinking about that, those, costs to the user in terms of maybe some of the UX, and then also if you're seeing a premium or you're seeing users choose or select this more ownership based than agency model, which of course, I mean, I think that's why we're all here, because we are trying to build a world with more agency and sovereignty. But it can be, challenging for busy people who may not make that selection. So just curious about your thoughts about those challenges.
Maybe Alex, you want to start? I think this is in your
no problem.
in
Absolutely.
your field.
Yeah, I was wondering who was. Yeah, so their question is this question is basically a question of mass adoption, if we put it the right way. So the thing is that first of all, we're not talking about the costs, but about the user experience itself. It is nowadays very few blockchains are actually having some sort of a product on an actual app that can be used by someone who does not have much of experience or much of a knowledge about like blockchain and technologies. So our concept of how we our go-to-market model, basically, you can call it like that, was not to appeal to the private customers, but instead wrap it into the product that can be integrated into classic applications that most of the users are already aware of how to interact with it, which they are already used to. So, for example, talking of decentralized VPN that we have, most of applications that we ship to the market that have this Sentinel blockchain under the hood the end user will not even know about that. We don't have, like, in the front end that presented to the customer, we don't have like wallets, mnemonics, some transaction hashes, and all of that stuff. We allow them to operate like it is a usual VPN application. But at the same time, it is important to show them that there is some technology under the hood that you're actually benefiting from, comparing to the classic applications that you have. And in our case, we were able to show that by bringing access to some sort of resources that are unavailable in certain countries, and comparing performance of our application to other VPN providers, we were able to show that we are actually much more reliable. For example, in Turkmenistan, country of Turkmenistan, there is a very strict internet censorship, and pretty much no websites work there. But the issue is not only that. Issue is that there's almost no VPN providers that are able to work there as well, because all of them are banned. And they also tried to block dVPN by Sentinel there as well. But the thing is that while NordVPN and ProtonVPN and others are unable to operate there, we are still able to. And there's a lot of people, like thousands of people from Turkmenistan, who are using Sentinel dVPN on day-to-day basis, and basically using it for just accessing internet, like Facebook, Instagram, and all the websites that we are used to. Another question of the pricing and the costs, we understood that it is important for us to make a model where it is sustainable for us to generate like monthly recurrent revenue for the whole network, because people out there, like in the Sentinel community, they're rolling up their own VPN nodes. They would like to earn tokens from providing their bandwidth to the network. And what we did there is an interesting trick. So instead of charging users the price of the connection, we bundled the number of nodes that are available on the chain into so-called plans, and we allowed application owners to pay for that traffic and provide it to their own users. So basically, instead of charging users, we're charging vendors of VPNs who are using us under the hood, so they can save costs on infrastructure, so they don't pay like millions of dollars for infrastructure costs. They don't have to own themselves the servers, and all of that can be handled by a blockchain, which like several times cheaper, but it provides pretty much the same reliability in that term.
Yeah, I think we have a similar perspective, and Althea has been operating for many years, decentralizing the infrastructure of the internets and utilities. And it's a simple GUI pay using your debit card, right, and on board. And so yeah, similar sort of philosophy into making things very streamlined for people to participate in, and similar sorts of ethos there too. Curious, Michael, if you have any thoughts on, I've used the Roam app before. It's very easy to use and on board. It's actually, what's neat about the Roam app is it exposes a lot of your data to you as well. So it's a useful tool to understand, what your connectivity is doing. And so I thought it was kind of cool.
So which is the part of almost a philosophical question. So is the access to information giving you better clarity on your situation, or the good old quote from the Testament that those who don't know are blessed is the remaining question. So by knowing more, does this improve your life, or this makes it more miserable? So I think for us, we try to simplify it. So of course, if some people, and especially now in the age of information, everybody thinks that they know it all, but a lot of people are still thinking that somebody is blasting their brains with very strong waves and controlling them remotely. Well, you just take your phone. If you want to see it, open the ROM app, and then you could see the actual level of power that your phone receives. And this is pure physics. So this is actually a watt, but in a 6-digit power level. So this is actually so low that it's like almost like a magic that it works on your phone and you're able to send data. But that's the reality. So if you put basically anything with liquid on top of the phone, it actually blocks the service. So practically speaking, propagation inside the tissue of a human body is non-existing. So does this help you actually understand better the reality? Probably for some people. For some people, maybe they don't care about the fact, they just want to believe in something. Still, we believe that our mission is to expose this information, and for those users that want to join our community, I think this would make a stronger community, because the more you understand of what you receive and what you consume as a user, the better we'll be in control of how you want to take it forward, which will bring to our vision. So the moment that you then know what you want and what kind of traffic profiles you have, then it will be a good discussion to say that, hey, we've seen that you use average of 20 megabits per second. So why do you need to buy a 500 megabits per second that somebody wants to sell it and to pay double or 3 times the price? I mean, if you need to choose, then choose the one that is best for you. And you could save, or you can still decide to go full speed ahead, but then this is your choice and you can actually go along with it. And then in the future of mobile connectivity, if you can actually move you across infrastructures, or maybe if somebody wants to have the most secure connection, then you can integrate the Sentinel app in the whole connectivity chain, and then make sure that you're just there connected to the right infrastructure, and then the only thing persistent across the connection is your whatever ID that is being exposed by the Sentinel. So this could be a choice for some people, and I think this could be an interesting future where you're not bound with the existing legacy way to connect to the internet or to anything else, but you're actually connecting based on your requirement as a user, as something that you want to achieve with this connection. Because just to remind everybody, I mean, the way how we consume any mobile connection is same as what AT&T and British Telecom and all the national telecoms were doing in the 80s. You know, you have a line, they actually called it a line, that comes to your house, and somebody owned the line and the phone in the house. And this is how it was done. You cannot change it, you cannot move it. You take it to leave it, basically. So, and now in a completely different world. So nobody wants to go back to that, to the line business. So why we're still using it as if it was a line business? So that will be an interesting discussion. And I think you are from Althea are doing something quite cool in the US, so hopefully in some other places where you can actually decentralizing also the infrastructure itself. So maybe you can ask you, Deborah. So what's happening with your decentralized infrastructure play?
Yeah, the vision I think is very similar, right? Because we have price aware or basically use your choice of routing, right? So essentially with Althea, you have a little slider bar on one choice it's cost and one choice it's quality. Now for our quality metrics, we use latency, but there's no reason why we couldn't add in the other metrics that come from the Roam network to, for users to say, look, I want this, capacity of connection. I want the latency is an easy one, right? But then, yes, and then it routes through a hardware agnostic connection as the user decides. I mean, you could also, of course, pair that with the Sentinel dVPN as well. Where do you want your traffic to exit out? And users can choose that. And that's really exposing that choice back to an agency, back to the users, which is so exciting. I think in the 5G world, there's some other pieces that finally seem like they've come along. eSIM, Althea's got some exciting stuff coming up in the summertime around, the eSIM and private cellular. But that's finally sort of evolved to the point where we can start thinking about roaming seamlessly between public and private, or more seamlessly. But it feels like the timing is very interesting to even sort of like think about, what even is what is an MNO? What is a carrier? Who are the, maybe this idea that they are big centralized entities is not something that has to be the case in the future. Many different types of infrastructure can participate. And that's really, with Roam, you're participating with your data. With Sentinel, you're participating with the, different, basically, what's a dVPN? It's like the cloud. It's someone else's computer, right? So, that infrastructure can come from, many different participants. Alex, I wanted to share, someone had a question about running the dVPN on a Starlink. I would assume it's hardware agnostic, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. You can run Sentinel node pretty much on any hardware that you have, as long as it's more powerful than calculator. So yeah, and has connection to the internet. So actually, we had several nodes which were hosted on the computers and servers which were connected to the Starlink. So yeah, it is possible to do so, definitely. So you can pretty much have, if you have, let's say, motorhome, and you have a Starlink on top of that, you can casually have a dVPN node running in it, and on solar panels, for example, you can earn some tokens. Meanwhile, you're not using your connection yourself, for example, and by offering that to the network. You can also spin up your own dVPN node on the local router that you have at home, for example, or on your own PC, or in the cloud if you prefer to. It's up to you. We have different type of nodes available on the network, and unlike many VPNs, almost half of the nodes that we have out there have residential IP addresses, which means that most of the services that you visit will not even have any idea that you're actually using VPN, which is beneficial for some cases. For example, if you travel to some country where, let's say, Netflix is not available, and they usually, when you're trying to use VPN, they saying that, oh no, you're using VPN, we cannot let you in, cannot let you watch the movie. It's not the case with the Sentinel, because Netflix cannot recognize that VPN is currently being used. So yeah, you can, answering your question, yeah, you can pretty much run the VPN node on anything. And to learn more about how to do that, please visit our website, sentinel.co. On the top corner, you will have a big link called Run a Node, which explains everything, how it's done, and how you can spin up your own one.
I have two questions. So the first is what about failover, or not all of the home connections are going to be reliable, and then the second question kind of follows on, right? What about terms of service, right? I mean, many people might be violating their Comcast connection terms of service potentially.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So first of all, about like SLA on the Sentinel. We have a tricky system that basically keeps track of how node operates, and we keep a record of reputation of the nodes, of how long it was online, and how many customers are connected to that particular node. What is the maximum amount of connections simultaneously this node can handle? And depending on the changes in these metrics, applications based on Sentinel either offering the servers to the customers or don't do so. So far, in 2020, we didn't have that system in place, and we were just straight offering every servers that are out there on Sentinel. And experience of average customer was still pretty decent, but there was some incidents of people disconnecting from the servers because it went down suddenly, or some home connection of someone who was hosting Sentinel node wasn't that stable. Now it's not the case, because we evaluating each node, its performance separately, and depending on that, we can pretty much predict how it is going to behave. And if some node goes down, and acts in some sort of a malicious way, the network understands that, and it basically lowers the rating of the node until it gets dropped out of the plan and becomes unavailable for users. So we pretty much do reputation-based analysis there. As for terms of service of different internet providers, and so of course, it is responsibility of someone who owns the node. So if you spin up your own node, you have to understand what software you are using, where you are running that, what is your ISP provider, and what are their requirements, and you have to kind of comply with that. But it usually possible for most of the people to spin up a local node, unless you allowing thousands of people through your server. You should be just fine, because it doesn't generate a lot of traffic for one particular node, but in chain itself, there is for each node, there is not that much of traffic, but all of them combined, it makes a difference.
Alex, this gave me an idea. So as we know how much actually you used and typically also how much will be your capacity as per the contract, does it mean that we will be able to recommend to certain users that, hey, you have a lot of unused capacity, why don't you install Sentinel node on your phone and then use it? So do you have an app for Android? Can an Android be running the node?
It definitely can, especially since the last Android update with the with this basically console access that they allow you to install pretty much anything out there. Yes, you can spin the node on Android, and technically it is absolutely possible to evaluate whether there is some unused bandwidth on the user's cellular data, for example, or some other plan, and offer that to the network to earn something back. That's actually something that you can do, and we can even collaborate on that. So if you just hit me up, we can have a separate call and discuss it and integrate that. That's not a big deal.
Let's talk about that, because I think most of our users probably are wondering how come I have so much unused capacity, and what to do with it. So I think we can
just for fun, we could look into my usage, because I have a tab in Chrome opened with my carrier, and I can see that I have 100 gigabytes per month. And just last month in March, I only used 67, which means that there is a pretty much almost a half of my bandwidth wasn't used from the plan, but I paid for it. So I could pretty much offer this bandwidth to the Sentinel and earn some of the money back, maybe even pay myself for my internet connection basically out of it.
Okay, I mean, of course, the story goes that if you want to have a real-time service, that's why especially in the mobile network, you need to know if the mobile network is be able to sustain it. So that's what we come in, right? We can actually, because we know the data link interface. So actually we measure the data link in a very technical terms, right? We actually measure the capability of your radio connection, not on the network layer, but on the data link layer. So we'll be able to tell you how much resources are there, so to run a certain service.
Probably Deborah just witnessed a birth of new collaboration of two chains into something beautiful.
We bring this all together right here, right?
Indeed, yeah.
I love it. That's a good idea.
I have a matchmaking service.
Tinder for blockchains, huh? Okay.
I mean, you joke, but I mean, I was trying to find out how to introduce what we do at Rome, even to investors, and one of the advices I got from a cheeky investor, maybe after a couple of drinks, was that why don't you call it Tinder for mobile network services? And then I tried it, but somehow Tinder got the bad rap that people think about it only for the end of the matchmaking, so the actual sexual part, but not for the actual matching itself. Otherwise, I mean, this to me it sounded good, right? Because we're actually matching you to the required service. I mean, maybe Tinder does that, but I think most people think of Tinder for something else.
I love it. Well, so Michael, we've got to get you over here on the IBC ecosystem then, right? And so we can bridge all these different collaborations.
Yes, fully support that.
So we do also, for folks that maybe don't know, and I'm not even sure, Alexander, if you do, we have a new infrastructure finance DEX, right? So we actually created on the Althea L1 a DEX that is kind of purpose built for these kinds of more utility focused ecosystem projects. And it has liquidity fusion, so very efficient with the pools. We have concentrated and knockout liquidity in the same pool. So obviously other tokens in the ecosystem or ERC20s can be part of that. So also happy to talk further about those collaborations too.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely interested in it.
Yeah, and we're also excited. We have the iFiDex testnet up right now. So if y'all are interested, head to our Discord. You can kind of kick the tires, look around a little bit. You'll find also that we're bringing in SUSDS, which is Maker's yield bearing stablecoin too, to kind of support some of the extra sustainability on the iFiDex. So yeah, lots of exciting things happening on that side. And again, it's for this this ecosystem that's very aligned and on the ethos. The ethos system, I think, is a really it's great to see these kinds of collaborations take place. So one thing that I think about when I think about that too is enterprise too. And Michael, you and I have talked about this a lot, right? And in fact, there's a lot of enterprise use cases for what we're all doing. And actually, in fact, that's primarily what Althea is. It makes it cheaper, and they have a higher addressable market for operators using these payment protocols and infrastructure that Althea builds. I think same for you too, right? I mean, this data is neutral. It's more affordable than they would get otherwise, right?
Yes, I think depends on the use case, right? I think this is so diverse that maybe you have to deep dive. But of course, if you're building a private network, which for all that matters, probably is now the thing to build if you want to connect your robots in any industrial environment. So it has to be reliable. It has to be with the right type of service or grade of service, so that the application can run in real time or in whatever other type of requirement. So private network seems to be the case. And then the question becomes, how do you make sure that these networks are always what they're supposed to be, and they're not being interfered or any other type of issue. So this is typically where we would come in. So we could actually be the tool to measure the networks and to derive this kind of information, also together with the public ones around it. So to be able to run it and to create the report, the analytics around it. So how does this network affect what type of service I would have? In our environment, we even started the project with a couple of municipalities that they would like to have this information available to their citizens in order to encourage additional use cases. So this is actually to be able to transition between the public service to some other type of services. So I mean, there is a lot thing that people typically don't see. Maybe that's the question. So and the more you want to build a service which is resilient and reliable in the enterprise, whether this is in the private or in the public, the more you need better visibility. Typically, that's one of the use case axiomas from the Internet of Things business cases, that in order to improve something, or first you have to know it, and then you can actually do something about it to optimize it. So actually, we are the one to first get the information or share the knowledge, and then in a simple terms, Althea would be the one to fix it if there is an issue, or you need more reliable service than to go and get your Althea network built up and available in your locations. And here you go. Then you could make it happen.
Absolutely. And Alexander, what do you think about enterprise? How do you think about private wireless or private infrastructure or enterprise in general for dVPN?
Yeah, so we mostly now thinking of two areas. Like the first one was a B2C, obviously, to make sure that we integrate dVPN and provide it to the end customers as like my grandma, for example, who can use it on her phone. But a really major part of that business is actual B2B customers. So, for example, I cannot give you a name of enterprise at this very moment because we are currently still processing this deal. But there is a very large telecom operator emerging in France at the moment. They launched their own operator, like on top of the how it's called, MVNA, I believe, right? So yeah, and they made an application that allows you to buy a SIM card for traveling, eSIM for traveling. It's a really popular business nowadays, and you can pretty much find this sort of stuff in a bunch of different apps. For example, Revolut banking application, they recently integrated eSIMs, so you can buy a SIM card like traveling to Thailand and you having like data there. So these guys in France, they're doing pretty much very similar thing. But what they came up with, the idea is to increase the value of their product by not only selling eSIM for traveling, but also bundling it with the VPN service. But given the nature of their business, they don't have a bunch of servers worldwide. They don't have any expertise in VPNs and so on. And they don't, frankly, want to waste their own resources on maintaining that product separately as well. So we made a deal with them so they could integrate Sentinel dVPN into their application and basically enable users to while they're traveling to also browse the web like from home, just simply using dVPN inside of the same app. So this is an example of an enterprise customer where an actual company, for example, in France, in our case, are paying to the node hosters on the Sentinel chain, and we pretty much witnessing like business customer of a whole blockchain, like we can call it that way.
So curious about that too. I mean, Althea has a lot of enterprise customers, and essentially one of the easy things about working with the Althea infrastructure is the use of stable coins, right? So USDC, DAI in some cases, right? How does that work with your enterprise customers as well? Like, I would assume that how do they interact with the Sentinel token, or do they just use stable coins, or how does that work?
Usually we have several approaches that are acceptable there, but most of the time people are going to DEX or centralized exchanges, and they obtain dVPN tokens, which they later using to pay for the bandwidth on chain. We also just recently introduced a possibility to pay with native Cosmos currency Atom by also using this IBC technology that they have. We have integrated that as well. So, and now with the upcoming Eureka integration into Sentinel, we will be able to offer stablecoin payments with the traditional ERC20 tokens such as USDC, USDT, you name it, and that also will allow us to predict and allow node hosters to predict their pricing in a much easier way, because stablecoin you always know that this is $1, right? Unless it is something like going very in the wrong direction, but we're not mentioning that. Yeah. So given the nature of stablecoin payments, it creates a much more sustainable and reliable choice for enterprise vendors.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I mean, Alex, sorry, Deborah. I just wanted to double click on that because my experience in the telecom sector. So again, I come from background of being a supplier to the mobile network operators, and I'm painfully aware of the difficult procurement cycles that they have. So I mean, how did you get through these procurement companies to actually enable them to purchase services from you via stablecoin? To me, this almost sounds impossible. So is there like a intermediate party there? Because I don't think a mobile network operator would like to touch any stablecoin on any crypto asset.
It is not government owned. It is just located in France. Just to be clear, it is a private network operator still. But talking of general enterprise, it is really hard to convince them to deal with crypto at all. So what we do, we have several companies all over the world to assist them with that, which they pretty much act as a intermediate person in terms of that payment. They accepting payments through fiat, like a bank wire or something.
Okay.
And they paying on the behalf of the enterprise to the network itself. So in that way, they like classic enterprise stuff. They need to have a paper agreement with someone. They cannot trust the centralized network, right? They are very like bureaucratical in that term. So what we make it possible for them to have this sort of contract with a regular legal entity, and this legal entity manages the part of interacting with the blockchain to make sure that the payment happens, the fiat currency that the enterprise is paying is getting converted to the crypto, and that's also helping us to support buying power on the market for all Cosmos ecosystem itself.
Okay, now this makes sense. I mean, that's right. That is the only way possible for this to happen. So well done for finding the actual workaround in the system, because otherwise,
I really hope that it will move towards direct crypto payments in some observable future, I would say, because we can see now that, for example, in Estonia, the country where I am currently located, it is possible to pay for services, like even for business to pay for services with crypto and it's completely legal here. Because in many other countries, it is not like that yet. And I think that it is a big question of fighting against restrictive legislation to make sure that the crypto becomes legal tender, at least like stable coins, for example, becomes legal tender. And once that happens, the process will be very much more streamlined than it is now. We already see that there is a lot of efforts being done about that particular question, that particular program. For example, in Latin America, with Argentina moving towards crypto-friendly legislation, El Salvador with President Bukele, they did a lot to make sure that they adopt crypto in their country. We also see that current US administration is, at least they saying something towards positive towards crypto. We will look at what actually happens. But yeah, if we see that there is a possibility for businesses to pay directly and legally through means of cryptocurrencies, this intermediate layer of our own companies will become obsolete. So that's the future plan, I would say.
I agree. So I mean, for Deborah, just to bring you to speed, so we take pride in Europe. I mean, because I'm also based in, actually, Alex, I'm based here in Finland, so just across the bay. But in Europe, we take pride to being the leader in something, in the whole new line of technology. And this something is a regulation. So our bureaucracy rules, I mean, whatever you can think, we have some rules about it. So. And I think the epitome of that is we have a regulation that all the plastic bottles, the cap of the plastic bottle needs to have a holder. So when you open the bottle, the cap cannot be separated from the bottle. Somebody was very proud of that. So I think, and everything else around crypto, there's MiCA regulation, so the MiCA that Europe accepted is something that nobody still fully understands, but you have to spend a lot of money to get yourself MiCA compliant. So, what's happening in the US? So tell us, how do you see the whole administration going now with the?
Well, that's a big
after the Trump coin, which we don't want to talk about and nobody talks about. But after the Trump coin, what happens in the US with the crypto regulation?
Well, yeah, it is a big topic, right? There's a lot of, both the like talk that's happening and then actual work. But what I would say that I think is exciting is the work that exchanges are doing, right? So this is the place where essentially enterprises can, move between fiat and stable coins. And we are seeing a lot of that happening. Or see things like ETFs or funds or that make it easier for that integration, right? So maybe it's not, a one-to-one, right? Where you're just going and look at Stripe and PayPal as well too. So we use, to onboard, and a lot of the payment services are allowing people to go between that fiat and crypto, especially stables, easily. So I think we are actually seeing that evolve into a way that can help enterprises and regular people have accessibility and move between, practically move between what you need to do. So I think that's pretty exciting. One of the things I am worried about, though, in general, is privacy, right? I mean, privacy has meaningfully changed than it was when, I'm old. That was a different thing in the, early 2000s and the 90s than it is now. However, there's a lot of monitoring of your data. Your data really isn't yourself. So creating sovereign, infrastructure, all the people here represent ways in which we can bring some sovereignty and agency back. That's really key to that, how we design this fiat crypto interoperability in a ways that work for us. Because if we're not careful, we maybe make it very easy for people to go in between fiat and blockchain, but maybe in a way that we're highly monitored, that we don't have much agency, we don't have choices. So that's my concern, is that as we are bringing this adoptability, what are we bringing along with it? There's a lot of monitoring. What is, how much, it's interesting too. One of the laws that they were, I'm not sure where it's at right now, but it was like, if you are spending transactions over a few $100s around in the Texas and New Mexico area around the border, and that was going to trigger a monitoring, not just that $10,000 movement of money. So that is a lot of, proverbial big brother that doesn't always, and historically has not worked out well for a lot of the population. So I think it is time to be excited about blockchain adoption, but it is time to be extremely vigilant about how that happens as well. That's my 2 cents. That makes sense.
So who is winning in this tug of war between regulation and market economy? So are we able to make some predictions here? So I think the notion is the US wants to become the center of the blockchain economy, right? I think that's the new administration doing it. So I mean, do you feel, Deborah, that this is happening? So shall we move all our business to US in the anticipation for that?
Well, I think there's a lot of exciting things always that are happening in them. In the U.S. is always a economic engine, right? There's a lot of things that are built here. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, and that still maintains the same. So I think that's always exciting. But perhaps we could maybe not look at the world so much adversarial and see and see that we actually could do business and grow, and that diversity would make us all better. So I'm hopeful that in the future we would there would be less of a dichotomy between the U.S. and the rest of the world, and perhaps a bit more of a collaborative approach.
I mean, thank you, Deborah. I think this hearing from a US person, this is a fresh kind of statement. So typically it's all about, yeah, we win this, we win that. So I think in blockchain like you cannot win it all, right?
Glass of ice water in the hell. Yeah, literally.
But what's exciting to me too is like this is so back even before Satoshi, there was folding at home, right? So this was the scientists needed access to supercomputing resources. So everyone could volunteer their time and their compute resources to folding protein for scientific research. And that was this amazing thing where globally we all came together and built and participated in a way that enhanced science. And, so as Satoshi then brought out Bitcoin in the white paper, we saw many of these examples where as globally we have all come together, brought the best of our resources and our minds to create these amazing systems that would not exist in a centralized way. So despite whatever happens within governments, the people still have a lot of agency and power. We must just exercise it. So I am excited to be here on this show with you all, building amazing things. And I think as long as we keep building, we will see this future.
Yeah, as Magmar said, that it is very important to continue building no matter what happens. And I guess he really meant that. And that is the mindset that all of us should have. We should continue building no matter what happens, because if you only build when there is a bull market and everything is nice in terms of like global situation, and so you pretty much will not be able to get all of the things that you planned done in time. But when you build no matter what, then when the good times come, you come prepared. So
I love it.
Wow.
Well, that's a great way to think. So we're top of the hour. So how do folks who joined this call find out more about Rome and find out more about Sentinel?
Yeah, first, I mean, yeah, great discussion. So, and I think this is a very, I mean, I see it in a very engineering way that, from Althea, you work on the stack, from the infrastructure, which typically includes also the hardware, which is layer one, and then we come in to help you understand what happens between your infrastructure and the network, which is us. And then if you want to connect in the best possible way to network later on, so then Sentinel comes in, right? And then all your services are running in a completely decentralized way from the infrastructure to the actual understanding of connectivity to the destination. So it sounds like a good stack, but we should almost call it something like Althea, Rome, Sentinel stacks. So it sounds like a good match. Yeah, but if anybody wants to learn more about Roam Network, so the best source, of course, is our website, so roam.network. From there, you can actually link to our Discord or Telegram if this is your preferred channel of information, and you can follow us on X, also on Roam Network. And yeah, looking forward to start all these ideas that we exchanged on this line with Alex here in the neighboring countries.
Yeah,
And then to
likewise,
connect across the
likewise.
pond.
Likewise, absolutely. Yeah, that sounds like a promising partnership to me. As for Sentinel, the best way to find us is also through our website, sentinel.co. Most major part of our community is in Telegram. So there is a link to our Telegram channel and Telegram group. So feel free to join us. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We will help you with the spinning up your own node or connecting to the VPN itself. And if you're building something and you want to integrate Sentinel as well, please also come and we will assist you in every way possible. It was a pleasure speaking with you both, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for being here. If you're looking to find out more about Althea or stay in touch with all this amazing content and matchmaking service that we have here, please like and subscribe on our YouTube and find us on Twitter. And join the community in Discord. Mario, our head of community, is there. And you'll find other folks like Will and the Chandra Station team helping on the validator side. You can participate in many different ways. Come test out the iFi Dex testnet. And you can find out all about that in the Discord. Or always althea.net or blog.althea.net has some great articles as well. And we look forward to seeing everybody next time. Have a great weekend.
Happy Easter to those celebrating also.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Likewise. Bye-bye, guys.
Ciao.
Okay.